Lots of discussion last week, especially about the running backs. So definitely that seems to be heating up out there. So, but definitely too, the other way to improve your team in the offseason is what the Ravens are known for and best at, the draft. So the draft targets. And so we're going to talk specifically about this. We're going to do a mock draft next week. We're going to do a Ravens mock and we're going to do a full league mock as well, first round. But we're going to talk specifically about targets. Okay. So what do the Ravens need? We went over the team needs. We talked about cornerback, etc., running backs, and things like that. What are the things in the draft that the Ravens would be looking at in the draft? Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at that, what the Ravens might be looking at in the draft. So in the draft, we're going to look at some positions. So I think it's well known that the Ravens' top need, I think, what they're going to be for sure looking at is offensive line, specifically offensive tackle, as well. Now, if you look at the free agents, it was very, very light. You had Mekhi Becton. I made a mistake last week, too. Correct that. Jonah Williams does not play for the Rams. He plays for Cincinnati. So very, very light. So you would think that the Ravens would go here in the draft. So here are some of the names here that you may see in the draft for the Ravens. Let's go over pretty much a lot of the guys that you'll see here in round one. We'll do round one here, and then some of these guys in the list we'll see 2, 3, but early rounds. Not too late in the draft here, but early rounds. Who are they targeting early here? Joe Alt for Notre Dame. His dad was an offensive lineman many years for the Kansas City Chiefs. Joe Alt is easily the number one guy. You know when an offensive lineman is good when you pancake a guy and then you just go to the next guy and pancake that guy. You see a lot that with Joe Alt. A tremendous athlete. Probably the best athlete of the group. Kid has great foot speed, runs under 5. Offensive lineman being over 300 pounds. Phenomenal athlete, Joe Alt. I don't think there's any question about it. He is he's the first one. Fascinato from Penn State, number 2. And these rankings are pretty much the way I see it. This is not a hard board here, but pretty much here early on what I see it as. He's about he's number 2. He's really good. I think he's probably ready to start pretty much on most teams. Maybe not plug and play in every situation right away. I think it depends on the scheme. More of a pass blocker. So I think that's important. He could probably play left tackle for somebody pretty much right away. Has great balance. That's the thing I saw over and over with him. So he's a guy definitely he could play on the left side as well. Pretty good as a run blocker as well. Pretty good. High. J.C. Latham from Alabama. He was better than I thought he was, actually. He's really big. He's like 360 pounds. So I'm thinking, so what you think of like as a guy throwing like maybe a Daniel Falele, like a right side, a big mauler, things like that. Very good pass blocker. Very good. Very good all around. You worry about his weight a little bit, his total athleticism, but he's very gifted. I like him a lot. It wouldn't shock me if he went early, top 15. You never know. I don't think he goes past that. I think like the more I see of him, the more I like him. I actually didn't have him as high when I first did the list, but the more I saw it, the more I liked of him. He's at 3. These names Fusaga. I'm gonna do the last name. Fuaga from Oregon. I have him as tackle number 4, guard tackle. I've heard some you might kick him in the guard. I could see that somebody doing that. I think he's more of a right tackle on his side. I don't think he's going to start, or at least not right away, a left tackle. I think he's more of a right tackle. Good bend, really handles the run, plays the one well. That's why I think maybe somebody will kick him in the guard, but I think he could definitely play right tackle, well over 300 pounds. Tyler Guyton, pretty good as well from Oklahoma. Very good at the point of attack. I really like him as well. Not as good of an athlete, I think, as the guys ahead of him, but definitely a lot of strength. Definitely a lot of strength there. Tyler Guyton, number 5. Jordan Morgan from Arizona. He's definitely going in the first round. A lot of people have the Ravens mocked for Jordan Morgan. I think they'd be happy to have him, too. I think he's somebody you could go ahead and put him in at either tackle spot. Uh, Solid all the way around. I like him. Solid all the way around. Not a phenomenal athlete, but solid all the way around. At a high level, at a good conference. So I got no problem with this. Amarius Mims is great. Is a tremendous prospect. I think athletically, he's probably number two behind Joel. Why is he down here? He's kind of raw. He hasn't really played much. So yeah, that's a thing. How much has he actually played? I think you could be getting a guy who's generational talent though, but it's still tough to tell. He's really only played one season, really. So tough to tell. Maybe he hasn't done some things yet. Still, maybe a learning process for him. Guard. Guard is definitely a spot they're going to be looking at early as well. I think the Ravens, not even in first round as well, but in the second round, they're definitely going to be looking at that third round. Third round at this spot, at this team, you possibly can find a starter in the first three rounds. Not like a lot of positions. Usually, like wide receiver, tackle, probably you're not getting a guy who could start right away. At guard, you definitely can. Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon. Easy number one center in this draft. I think maybe it depends on where he goes. If a team already has a center, he could start at guard. I think he's the best center, though. I think he's not as good as a Linderbaum, but definitely you could put him in at either guard spot if you're the Ravens. The Ravens would be looking at guard and probably not center. But definitely he's the one. He's the only one I think here for sure. I think that's going to go in round one. I can't imagine that he drops. Troy Fanatu. Some people have him as a late one here, as maybe a guard tackle. I kind of see him more as a guard, more of a guy that's technically sound. There, I have him as a 1-2. Christian Hayes. That's a second round prospect. I see him a lot of boards. I think he's a little bit of a work in progress as well. A little bit of a work in process, but kind of like Mims, the upside there, I really see a lot of upside. The upside is tremendous. Got a lot of raw ability. Here's a guy, plug and play, Cooper Beebe. Outstanding prospect here. Really like him. Now, he's a road grade is the word. Really strong, really powerful, excellent, tremendously strong. If you want to play him at right guard right now, you absolutely can do that. But he'll never play tackle. I don't see it. That's why he's probably in the third round. But second or third round, but he absolutely can play that. Chris Mahogany, last on the list, second, third round-ish for Boston College. Kind of put him into Christian Hayes. A little bit of a potential thing here. Good athlete he is. That's about there for that. Corner. I legitimately think the Ravens could be looking at a corner. I don't know if I think if the board falls to them and it's one of these guys that they like, I absolutely think they'll pull the trigger on it. Marlon, they should bring back, and Brandon Stevens was phenomenal last year, but you're losing a lot of your second tier guy, your nickel guys, etc. So definitely, I think they're looking at it here. Turin Arnold, I think, is a no-brainer. He's the best corner, I think, on the board. Definitely, if he's a guy, he shouldn't be around when the Ravens are picking, but definitely he's outstanding. Nate Wiggins is tremendous. I really think they're pretty close. I think people are kind of sleeping on him. Most of the stuff I've seen, you got Arnold ahead of Wiggins. I don't think there's much separating these two guys. These two guys are really good. Kool-Aid! But I couldn't wait to say it. Yeah, if you grew up in the 80s, you got to have Kool-Aid commercial. Couldn't wait to say Kool-Aid McKinstry. I don't know how much Kool-Aid he actually drinks, but he's very good on the field. Top 10. I don't think he's a top 10. I think this is probably a shot if the Ravens actually get it. I don't think he'll drop the 30, but I think he's definitely first round. Definitely a guy you could put in and start right away. A little bit bigger, stronger than these other two guys. Not quite as I don't think he has quite the speed as Arnold and Wiggins, but he's really good. Quinyon Mitchell is a name I see driving up draft boards. It's interesting to see how he does at the combine. A guy like this could go up the draft boards and really Guy could really go up the draft boards and do well and get squared away. But I don't love him early. I think he's more of a second round guy. I think he needs to develop. I don't think you could put him in right away and play full time on the outside. But Kamari Lassiter again, same, probably played at a bigger school with talent as well. Played against a lot of good wide receivers in the SEC. Yeah, not this position, not quite as strong. Those last two, I think definitely the Ravens. Those are probably what the Ravens are going to be left with in at 30. At 30, if they are still picking 30, barring a trade or whatever. But I think they're looking too hard at two of those guys. I got no problem with that with those two because they don't have to start right away and do that. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes there. Two very interesting prospects, especially at the bottom. Three, the first three are very good. Cornerback class, not as good. Wide receiver, man. Now, this is a big difference from last year where we didn't have many good wide receivers in the first round. Obviously, we got Zay Flowers, who's going to be our number one receiver. But, I mean, a lot of the first round receivers were kind of You definitely have them this year. Marvin Harrison, I hate to say Jerry Rice, but Jerry Rice. That's what I see when I see him. He glides when he runs. He has every trait: speed, power, durability. I don't see a flaw at all. He's going to start. He's better than a lot of the receivers already in the league. He's that good. I believe he's probably best player in the draft outside of Caleb Williams. Probably him and Marvin Harris. In terms of just, if I was Mel Kiper and I was doing a number grade, he gets the highest one. No question about it, along with either him or Caleb Williams. Roma Udeze would be a number one pick, be the best receiver in last year's draft and a lot of drafts. But he's number two. Why was Michael Penix so good? He's got great receiver here to throw to. He's pretty complete as well. I think he's a starter right away as well. Love his hands. Love how he catches the football. That's a thing. That seems like elementary, like with receivers. But like he can, like some guys, like have the speed, have all the measurables. This guy is outstanding. Has outstanding hands. Not quite a Larry Fitzgerald. I'm not going to go that far. He's in that category. I mean, he's definitely can catch the ball with great hands. Malik Neighbors is outstanding as well. Played with Jalen Daniels at LSU. I think he's really good. These three are top 10 guys. Malik Neighbors definitely. He's not going to get out of the top 10. It'd take a miracle for the Ravens to get it, but definitely, I do think there is a universe where I think if you trade up or something like that, they couldn't be unhappy with these guys. More middle first round. Keon Coleman, I think, is definitely going in first round, probably in the middle, late-ish, 15, 16-ish, maybe a little bit later, depending on if teams move up. I think somebody may move up to get him, but he's really good. Caught passes from Jordan Travis like that. I don't know about the route running. Now we're into the area where it's not as sure about the route running. Sometimes, a lot of times with receivers, it's tough to tell. But he was wide open a lot. I know that at Florida State, so he's really good. Brian Thomas for LSU. Not only did he have Jay Daniels had one, Brian Thomas, I think, is going in the first round. This is a big, strong, physical receiver, old school. Had this been years ago, he'd be higher than best, but he's a bit old school to me. But he's really good. I really like Brian Thomas, but I think he's more of a late first as well. These two guys, I think, are definitely early first, second. Ladd McConkey for Georgia. Ladd McConkey, I see a lot of Julian Edelman with him, a lot of Wes Welker with him. Catches it in traffic, so that's a great thing. I think that's the best trait. The only trait, that's the only negative, though. Why are you always in traffic? Why aren't you separated more? But I think he's Wes Welker. You could put him in the slot right away. That's what you get. Troy Franklin has every measurable you want. But he's a little green. I kind of like this high upside, downside. We don't know about his route running. We know he has blazing speed. We know he's 6 feet tall. You know all those things. You know he's used to playing with a good quarterback. You know all those things. But it's still a little. He's kind of slender. Needs to fill out a little bit. We'll see about Troy Franklin. Good receiver group, though, I would say. Best player available before we get to the other positions. Now, these are like Ravens, right player, right price, best player available. So these are huge positions of need. But these are positions I think they would take. I don't think they're going to take a quarterback early at all. So they have Lamar Jackson. I think you could kind of scratch those guys out. I don't think they're going to do it under any circumstances. But I think these guys, if they're there, they'll actually look at it. Brock Bowers, I think, is a tremendous tight end. I'm not in love with him like everybody else seems to be, but he's pretty good. I mean, he's definitely first round quality. I kind of concerned that he could kind of slip more than people think. He's got the grades and everything like that. I don't think teams are going to take a tight end that high. I don't think it would shock me if he slipped a little bit later. I don't love the tackles in this class as much. I think the two Zoran Newton, I think he's the best one. I definitely think it depends on what happens with Matabuke. So this could be absolutely a Matabuke replacement if they can't sign him as well. I think this becomes a bigger deal if they can't sign him. I don't know if he's going to be there, but this guy slices up the inside. So definitely the inside pass rush, this guy's going to give that to you. Kind of small, both of these guys. I'll even go to Brian Murphy. I kind of have the same thing with him. They kind of wreck games in college a lot with the inside pass rush ability. They obviously can stop the run well, but they're three technique and they're not huge. So I don't know. I think both of these guys, honestly, I think they're kind of better served on. I'm gonna use the Squealers for example. Like an outside, like a 3-4 in would serve these guys like best. They'd be very, very, very good guys to have in that situation. At Cooper DeJean, how many years has Kurt Ferenz kicked out great defensive players? Always at least one or two in the first round. I think he's more of a safety as a corner, even though he's played corner. You could probably put him at corner, but I think he's that one, kind of like Brian Branch was last year. You could put him at either position. Pass rushers, Dallas Turner. I think it's Dallas Turner and those other guys. He's way ahead. Dallas Turner, I think he's definitely a top 10 talent for Alabama. Reminds me a lot of Peter Boulware as well. Very talented, very talented. Great speed. I think he's the one that has multiple pass rush skills. That he can bull rush and he can edge rush as well. So I like Dallas Turner a lot. Jared Verse, I think, is 2. I don't know if he's good as number 3, like I alluded to. I think he may fall because he has injuries before. He has a real medical issue. So I don't know how teams are going to view him, but he really has a lot of talent. But I think Versa may go higher because of that. But Lalutu is really, really good. Speed rusher, both of these guys. Braylon Trice, I think, is number 3. Is number 4. He's pretty good as well. Overall solid. That's kind of like the vibe I get from whenever I see him. He's like overall solid pass rusher. I think probably the run and probably like, I don't think just pass rush for him, kind of like a complete guy. Chop Robinson. I don't love him as much as other people do. I've heard a lot of good Chop Robinson, but I think the production is there. So I think he's pretty good as well. And Chris Braswell from Alabama. So that was a great tandem they had, right? You got 2 guys in the first 2 rounds there for Alabama. Outside linebacker. I have outside linebacker. Both of those guys also could play DN. For the Ravens' perspective, maybe running a 3-4 still outside linebacker. I have that. Last group, running back. If they don't sign Saquon Barkley or whatever, or Henry or Jacobs or Gus Edwards even, running back's a need. Running back is very weak, very weak. I think these are the 3. Honestly, I think the only 3 that are going to help you right away. I think other people have Trey Benton higher. I have Corum. I saw him too much last year. He's terrific. Ray Rice is what I'm seeing. I didn't see a lot of catching out of the backfield. I didn't see that. So that's kind of why I think he's really kind of small, fire plug. So I think like he's going to find running the ball. You're not going to have a problem with him. That's not it. So he definitely can run the ball and get a lot of yards. Trey Benson is a little higher. I have him a little bit lower. I don't think he's a good running back. I don't think he's as good as Blake Corum. I will say this: Trey Benson, like Alvin Kamara, after contact, some guys like the contact. That's a great trait for a running back to have. After contact, he's definitely got that. Jonathan Brooks, I think he's a little bit behind these guys. I kind of see a little bit of Gus Edwards of him. Not a complete back, but you can put him straight line. That's what he can do. So I definitely think if they're looking for that type of player, that's definitely a guy they're going to look at. Not a lot here at running back. So keep that in mind. There you go. Targets. So those are just some of the names that the Ravens may be drafting in the draft. So I looked at a lot of these guys. Offensive tackle is a strength in this draft. So we definitely can look at that. Guard as well. Definitely. So the line help that they need, a lot of it is in this draft. So that's something that they definitely can look at. The rest of it, you never know how it goes. Corner, safety, a lot of those are positions that fall to like late first round. So we'll see how that goes. See what they do early in the second round.